Hey guys, how's it going? Coach Jacob here, and I'm bringing you guys the fourth video in our series of 6 videos covering the 6 foundational principles for holistic health. So in our fourth video, we are going to cover sleeping, right? So the 6 principles are eating, drinking, sleeping, thinking, moving, and breathing. Those first 3 are yin or anabolic in nature, and those last 3 are yang or catabolic in nature, right? Relating us back to our anabolic and catabolic forces. Remember, anabolic just basically means building complex molecules out of more simple ones, right? So your body's processes of bringing in nutrients and raw materials and using those to create things it needs, right? And then catabolic forces being breaking down those more complex molecules into simple ones for use, right? So anabolic, bringing energy in, bringing materials and strength into the body to build up. Catabolic forces kind of breaking the body down and expending, right? Balancing those 2 forces is how we maintain vitality and health. So sleeping is huge. Sleeping is the epitome of anabolism, right? Is the number one anabolic force that we have. So sleeping, we spend a third of our lives, hopefully a third of our lives, sleeping, and we do that because it is absolutely necessary when we are up throughout the day, thinking, breathing, moving, talking, sharing, expending our energy and our life force. We have to have 8 hours of quality sleep to make sure we're repairing any damage. We're integrating any ideas and emotions in our brains, and just making sure that we're prepared for that next day, right? So sleeping is hugely important. Helps you fight off infection, helps you recover from exercise or injury, and in general, it helps your brain to kind of integrate experiences, right? So sleeping is massively important. Now the secret to sleeping well or getting quality sleep is going to be managing circadian rhythms. Managing circadian rhythms. A circadian rhythm is basically the fundamental timing and rhythm of your body's cycles and functions, right? We know that first thing in the morning, cortisol is going to be high and melatonin is going to be low. Right, cortisol is a hormone in your body that kind of creates the feeling of energy, kind of gets you going, gets you up in the morning, and it is catabolic in nature. Right, melatonin is a hormone that makes you feel sleepy and allows your body to start shutting down and is more anabolic in nature. Right, so those 2 basic hormones, cortisol and melatonin, have an inverse relationship. Cortisol is typically high in the morning so that you can get up and get going, and melatonin is typically low in the morning, right, so that you can get up and get going. Whereas in the evening, as the sun goes down, cortisol should start dropping off, and melatonin production should start ramping up as you wind down at the end of the day and have your last meal and start getting ready for bed, right? So that inverse relationship is one of the key factors in managing your sleep. So we're going to go through some basic habits, some do's and don'ts throughout your day that will relate to your melatonin and cortisol levels, how to manage that rhythm so that you can sleep well and sleep 8 hours, right? So you can have quality rest. So we're going to kind of talk about 3 different segments here. Light, how it affects the rhythms, the brain. Movement, how it affects that cortisol and melatonin rhythms. And then food as well, right? All kind of relating back to cortisol and melatonin in that inverse relationship. So, light, right? Sunlight is a trigger for your body to know that it's daytime, that your cortisol should be elevated, you should be up and moving, right? So light, some do's referring to light. We want to get sunlight in the AM hours. So as soon as you wake up, or shortly thereafter, it is a really good idea to get outside, get some sunlight on your body, on your face, in your eyes, right? so that your brain can understand that it is daytime, it's time to get moving, and it can start upping that cortisol production, right? We also want to make sure that we are dimming the lights in the PM hours, right? So as the sun goes down, 7, 8 p.m., maybe around dinner time for you, maybe a little bit after, it's a good idea to either turn off some of the lights in your house, or if you can, dim them, right? The best option would be to turn off all the lights and use candlelight, but maybe that's not optimal or reasonable for you. But what you can do is turn off half of the lights in the room, right? Or again, if possible for you, just to dim them a little bit, right? The lower the light, the more darkness there is in the room, it's going to start telling your brain that it is nighttime, start producing melatonin, right? So again, managing that inverse relationship. Morning light to wake you up and get cortisol going. In the evening, we want darkness, we want to expose ourselves to darkness so our melatonin production starts going up. Some don'ts referring to light. We don't want to avoid the sun during the day. The sun has gotten kind of a bad rap, right? It has been blamed for skin cancer and a few other things, and it absolutely can cause skin cancer if you're getting too much of it, if you're getting sunburns quite often. But the sun is absolutely necessary for your health. We know the biggest thing that it does is it helps promote vitamin D production in the body, right? Another thing is UAV light is actually used to help cure some skin conditions, right? So sunlight is very good for you. It is absolutely essential, right? There's no way we lived 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years ago without being out in the sun hours and hours a day, right? So it's just kind of building up that tolerance. But we don't want to avoid the sun. Again, we want to get that sunlight in the morning hours. And then we don't want to be staring at screens in the PM hours, right? So kind of the exact inverse of this. Don't avoid the sun in the morning or during the day, because that is going to help your cortisol production be up so you feel awake and energized throughout the day. And then in the evening, we want to avoid exposing ourselves to artificial light, just because it's going to suppress that melatonin production, right? If you're staring at a screen in the evening before bed, your brain thinks it's daytime, you are not producing melatonin. So you got to turn the TV off and lay down in bed, and you realize that you can't sleep for another hour or two, even though you felt tired, right? So light in the eyes or on the skin is a message to the brain that it is daytime, and it'll suppress your melatonin production, even for an hour or two after you turn off that light, right? So caveat here, I like to use blue light blocking glasses in the evening. Me and my fiance do enjoy watching a couple TV shows or something like that before bed, or throwing on a movie. So in the evening hours, I will usually throw on my blue light blocking glasses, which are just non-prescription glasses that block blue light waves, because blue light waves in particular are ones that are going to tell your brain that it's daytime, right? The sky, blue light. So I'll throw those on if we're going to watch a movie or something like that, just to help my brain start shutting down and producing that melatonin. So that's not like a cure-all. That's not permission to stare at your phone until 1 a.m., but that is very helpful in the evenings. So again, light. Get good quality sunlight in the morning or during the day, and then try as hard as you can to avoid a lot of that artificial light in the evening. All right, and I guarantee you will notice a big difference in your sleep. All right. Now with movement, movement is another one of those key kind of triggers or messengers to the body that it is daytime, and to up your cortisol, right, and lower your melatonin. So we do want to, in the morning, exercise or walk or move, right? Once you get up in the morning, if you do not move in the morning, you're gonna feel tired for the first few hours. It's kind of that sleep state just kind of rolls into your day, because there's no like set transition from sleep to wake, right? If you get out of bed, you drink some water, and then you immediately get outside for a walk, you start moving, you get your blood pumping, you're breathing, you got the sun shining down on you, your body knows that it is daytime, right? It's going to start upping that cortisol production, and you're going to feel energized. You're going to feel ready to go. So you want to exercise in the morning. You want to move throughout the day. Again, just so your body knows that it is daytime, right? Stagnation is only for sleep. Your body is meant to move all day long. So doesn't mean you have to exercise all day long, but you should be getting up on your feet hourly, doing a few light stretches, going for walks when you can, right? And then do stretch before bed. If you can do something, some light movement that's going to kind of bring the body down, like some passive stretching before bed, it is very relaxing. It'll help your body sleep a little bit better, right? Along with that, if you mobilize some joints and some tissues before laying down in bed, you'll have a little bit more freedom. You'll feel a little bit more comfortable when you go to lie down. It'll be easier to fall asleep. And then what we don't want to do as far as movement, we want to avoid sitting or laying down, especially in the morning, right? If you wake up and you go right to the couch to start working, or right to your desk to start working, just sitting down and being stagnant, you're going to feel kind of tired rolling through the day, right? Again, you're not going to have that trigger of like, okay, I was sleeping and now I'm awake and now it's daytime. It's going to kind of carry that melatonin production into the morning. Your cortisol is going to kind of stay suppressed. And we don't want to do intense exercise late at night, right? I know for some people, that is the only time you can work out. And if that's the only time you can work out, I would say better to do it than to not do it. But if you can avoid intense exercise in the evening, it's probably a good idea, because intense exercise is going to upregulate that cortisol, get your body all stimulated. And oftentimes when people go to work out, they like to take a little bit of caffeine before, right? So the caffeine and the exercise in the evening is going to very, very negatively affect your sleep. You're going to have a really hard time getting into a deep sleep state, cooling the body temperature down. So if you have to do it, if you have to work out late in the evening, just make sure afterwards you're avoiding artificial light, right? You maybe stretch and do some breathing techniques to bring the body down. And then even something like a cold shower to bring the body temperature down a little bit will help you sleep a little bit deeper. That's something I didn't really talk about, body temperature or room temperature, but again, kind of relating into light and movement, right? Heating up is going to be kind of coupled with daytime, and cooling down is going to be kind of coupled with nighttime or sleep. So getting that sunlight and movement, warming the body up in the morning, will tell you that it is tell your body that it is daytime, and cooling down, right, taking a cold shower or even just making your room a little bit cooler in the evenings will allow your body temperature to drop and will allow your body to rest a little bit more deeply. So light movement, light and movement in the mornings and throughout the day, and avoid intense movement or artificial light in the evening, right? Now let's talk about food a little bit. Along with food, I'm going to kind of talk about some things that hurt our sleep, as far as alcohol, sugar, things like that. But some do's for food, because your food and eating can be a trigger for your circadian rhythms. So we do want to eat a meal consisting of whole foods in a proper macronutrient ratio for you before bed, right? 2 to 3 hours before bed. Now, this part, proper macronutrient ratio for you, is going to be dependent, right? That's going to take a little bit of experimentation. So that's why I would tell some of my clients to, maybe for 2 or 3 nights in a row, you have a dinner consisting of 2/3 of the plate plant foods and 1/3 of the plate animal foods. And then for 2 or 3 nights in a row, do the opposite. 2/3 of the plate animal foods, 1/3 of the plate plant foods. And then record, journal, see what day or what evenings you slept better and what mornings you woke up feeling more rested, right? So just journaling and figure out kind of what your body wants, because it's going to be different for everyone, right? You can dial that in. So balancing that proper macronutrient ratio is going to give your body the right kind of, it's going to kind of stoke the fire correctly for your body to sleep well. And we want to eat dinner 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, right? We want to give your body plenty of time to digest that food before you go lay down in bed. Because when you lay down in bed, we want your body focusing on resting, repairing the body, fighting off infection. We don't want too much of the energy being promoted towards digesting your food, right? So if you're eating a really big meal, which is one of our don'ts, don't eat right before bed. It's going to kind of pull your body's energy into digesting that food, so your body won't be able to fully focus on resting and recovering. We also want to avoid eating sugar in the PM hours and drinking alcohol in the PM hours. So this is kind of a tough one, right? But I'm just being honest. I'm trying to give you guys truth here. Eating sugary desserts, candy, sugary drinks, again, even a meal too high in carbohydrates for your body type can really affect your sleep negatively, right? It can really be stimulating to the body and will just keep you up. Or even if you lay down and you have the perception of sleeping, your brain could still be going quite a bit and you won't be getting a very restful or deep sleep, right? Same thing with alcohol. Alcohol is a little bit irritating to the body, and we know once your body clears that alcohol, you get kind of a spike in blood sugar. So many people have 1 or 2 drinks to help them fall asleep, but then around 1, 2, or 3 a.m. they wake up, maybe sweating, and they have a hard time falling back to sleep, right? So using alcohol as a crutch to fall asleep is a bad idea, because you're going to get the sleep is not going to be as deep, or as you're not going to have as much recovery, right? And then there's a very, very likely chance of you waking up in the middle of the night and having trouble falling back to sleep because of that alcohol. So it does seem helpful to get you relaxed and falling asleep, but ultimately it is not doing what you want it to do. So I know these are tough ones. Many people like to drink alcohol in the evening, but I don't know, it'd be more convenient if I told you, yeah, a glass of wine at night is going to help you sleep, but that's just not the truth, right? We know a glass of red wine can be somewhat beneficial to the body, but those beneficial compounds are not from the alcohol themselves, but from like the resveratrol and the grapes and things like that. So the alcohol is a little bit disrupting to the body. So overall picture here, managing your circadian rhythms is going to be the most important thing for making sure you get good sleep. We manage circadian rhythms through getting sunlight and movement throughout the day, and then avoiding artificial light and avoiding too much intense movement later in the evening, right? Just as a general picture. And as far as food goes, like I talked about in the last video, we want to eat organic whole foods in a proper macronutrient ratio. So if you're doing that for dinner and you're doing it 2 to 3 hours before bed, you'll absolutely sleep your best, all right? So if you guys can put some of these habits or practices into your daily lives, I guarantee that you will be sleeping longer, deeper, and you will not have as much trouble falling asleep in the evening. So light in the morning, movement throughout the day, avoid sugar and alcohol at night, and try to turn that TV off before bed, all right? Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.